Economy in Realpolitiks 2. That is the topic today. So, thankfully, it's pretty self-contained and easy to explain. There's a couple places where you can see it or interact with it. One place would be up at the top here. There are so many things up here, but between your money and your resources and the GDP growth, you kind of get an idea of your economy. Money, metals, fuel, and rare earth elements are your currencies. GDP growth, we'll get into. HDI, this is kind of irrelevant of human development is what they call it. But the higher this goes, the more intelligent, the more projects you're capable of doing, and the worse it affects things like population growth. This does have a bearing on economy, but it's not huge. So let's just get that out of the way right now and move into the good stuff. Let's start by going down this tab, however. So we have our money. You could see factors that affect your money. You can even go gamble your money on the stock market, buying and selling based on the prices of the stock index. Money is your main currency. However, it is of pretty equal importance to your other resources that have their own tab, which we'll get to in a little bit. You can get more money out of thin air with this magical thing called debt. There's plenty of other things that can affect money, and you can see their sources, and we'll talk about more, see down here, where they come from. But if you want to make just money spawn out of thin air, that's what we call debt. You take debt, and then you pay an interest on it later, but you get the money now. That's how debt works. You have a credit card, it's like that in-game as well. And then there's things that can affect debt. You'll see the factors down there. But to take a loan, you just take it. You could pull it out based on the size of your economy, your credit rating. We have our taxes next. There are 2 bars. This is your limits. This is the area where you could set your taxes. And this is based on factors. Some things will affect your actual income. However, some things affect how low or high it can be, such as usually what kind of government you have. The higher your tax rate, you can see negative tax to GDP growth, it'll lower your GDP growth. The lower it is, it'll raise your GDP growth. More taxes equals more money now, but less in the future, because the bigger the economy, the bigger the GDP, the bigger the tax income at any given rate. So you want your GDP to be growing as much as possible because this game does not simulate inflation. Also, the higher the taxes, you get taxed unhappiness, making everybody unhappy. You can have ways to counter unhappiness specifically, but if you make them unhappy, you might risk rebellion. So you want as little unhappiness as possible. So the trick is finding how low you can keep your tax rate while still getting the amount of money that you want or need to do what you want to do, so that you can keep your unhappiness within manageable limits, and so that your GDP grows as fast as possible to increase your tax income tomorrow. Moving down here, we have our budget. This will just show you essentially where things are going to and coming from. Taxes, income, we just explained. The stock market, I mentioned already. Projects are what you'll spend a lot of your money on alongside your army. The costs of debt, the recurring costs, that is. The maintenance of buildings that you build. If you zoom in here, there's little building slots. You click on one, you go ahead and build a building. These have slots. It will tell you in the maintenance how much you'll be paying in maintenance, not just for money, but for the other resources as well as actions you've taken on regions and provinces. Now, it's worthy of mention, so I'll mention it. If you right-click a nation, you go to positive actions, there is investment. Investment is important for diplomacy. It's actually very important for diplomacy in this game. It was in the first game too, but it has more importance now. It allows the invested in nation to have their GDP grow, but in this game now, it also rewards you by giving you money based on your investments. When you get investments, they will go away over time, so you'll have to constantly renew your investments. And I mean, you will be pressing this button on nations that you so wish to invest in a lot. But you'll want to pick nations where you actually want their GDP to grow and where you actually want diplomacy with. So you're not going to be doing this for every nation in the world unless you just wish to profit as much as possible, I guess, because the cost input here is minimal for the amount of money that you will make out of this. So that is definitely worthy of mention. But these are all of those stats here. That's the investment income right there. We could then go to finances to get some more information. Here is your GDP. This is where your GDP growth will affect, and you can see all the different factors that are affecting this. We can expand right here in case we want to see more, to see things that are affecting it positively and negatively. We have the world economy as well. This is important. This is out of your control. The world economy just does its own thing. If you have, we have to go into government for this. If you have interventionism that is high, then when the world economy does poorly, your GDP will take less of a hit. If you have interventionism that is low, it will take more of a hit. Vice versa, when the world economy is doing great, the less interventionism you have, the more the free market will be able to benefit. The more interventionism you have, the more your rules and regulations will prevent your market from benefiting from a positive world economy. Under that, we have unemployment, where you'll get information about your abstracted population, the unemployment rate of your country, its growth or lack thereof, as well as all the factors affecting that, and then the effects that it has, which it can affect your population growth if there are too many unemployed, and it can create a higher target of interventionism because your economy might need to be reined in or not. Then you could see your trade points in different stock markets here as well, and all the places your investments are coming from. Going down to resources, these things are just as important as money. And this used to be one like raw resource in the first game. Now it's 3: metals, fuels, and rare earth elements. Metals and fuels are used more kind of in that order than rare earth elements in building construction, in army construction, but they are all essentially used for the exact same thing. And anywhere these are used, you can generally expect to see money used as well. You do start out with some base production of this stuff, but projects, army, especially army, but projects as well, of course, and somewhat buildings will affect all of these things. If you wish to get more, you just have to go to a suitable terrain building slot, go to your industry, and then there will be different buildings, such as the open pit mine, which can get you every single one of these resources, or you could specialize with the mining shaft, an oil well, or a rare earth element extraction facility. There's even sawmills that can generate fuels. There's even mining platforms that go offshore that can generate fuel and metal, just to show that there's a couple more. You'll have to look at all these buildings, but this is generally the direction you want to start by looking to see where you can get more of this stuff. Then there is the, I suppose, worthy mention, because it's in this tab, of colonization. If you go down either of these tracks, you'll be able to settle land and water locations to get information on them. If you right-click a location, like out here, for example, you can first search it for natural resources to see what it has. So if you click on any actual location like this, you go to the province screen, scroll down, and you can see how, just in nature, how many of these resources are produced. The land places don't tend to produce as much as brand new discovered, like planets, asteroids, moons, and the ocean would. The ocean would have way more natural resources, but you can also exploit what's already there as well. And then finally to note is the environment. The environment has a local and global effect. This is the global effect. This is usually affected by nukes. You can also see the information here at the bottom, degradation. If this gets too high, the location is essentially unlivable, potentially because you're building too much industry, or you have too many projects that hurt the environment and not enough things that help it. And the place can become unlivable, reducing your ability to extract any resources or have anybody live there at all. So you're going to want to consider that while you're building up your economy, your economic buildings, your industry. Definitely something to keep in mind. But that is a pretty good brief overview of how the economy in this game works. Nice and simple, easy to interact with. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. If you have any questions that I have not quite answered, feel free to ask those in the comments below. If you want to see any other guides I haven't covered already in the playlist in the description, then feel free to suggest those, and I'll try to get to those. I already have some in mind, but that's going to be it for today. So for now, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.